Hello, I'm Ross from Britain's Hidden History, and welcome back. And I'm going to talk a few clips from the book that we waited so long for, which is this one here, St. Patrick Identified. Victor Van Orton, who's obviously Baram Blackett. So it's his first book without being partners with the famous Wilson and Blackett. So this book goes through very much the life of St. Patrick and the historical side of it, where he was born, which is why we have these Llantyrt Major links. I hate the name Llantyrt Major, Llanilltyd Fawr, where St. Illyd was, all these kind of stuff, so Illtyd. Anyway, all this we'll get on to. First part, I'm going to talk about this connection with King Niall. I'm going to look at how he's described on Wikipedia then, because he seems to have a kind of mythical, legendary status, which is strange, because it seems quite verified the historical events, and he seems to be fairly well known and seems to have gone through the same treatment. A lot of British history of that period goes to this sort of idea of a dark ages. So I'm going to do here, he's just talked about the fact that Theodosius the Great has died, and I'll dive straight into the book to give you a flavour. Baram's got his unique way of writing. He's very erudite, likes to use a powerful vocabulary. It's really good stuff. Right, so at the death of Theodosius the Great, I won't do the Geordie accent, and with his successors hovering around in Constantinople and Milan, the sense of security in the might of Rome with its mighty arsenal offered a false calm of satisfied protection from the migrating barbarians and threats from the Goths and from the Huns under Alaric in Europe. This was comfortably camouflaged with a plethora of generalities and a false sense of their strength and their capability, underestimating the actual threat to the Roman state. Within a decade, the British were shocked by the unexpected news that the Goths had penetrated into Italy, and the Emperor Honorius was more than uneasy. He took some solace in the indications that the armies of the West would be obliged to join forces. This is key point. Rome was not controlling Britain as centrally as is portrayed in the sort of orthodox histories. Very much independent. The Roman Empire was effectively three separate empires: Eastern, so Central, and then the West, which would be British. The navies covering the Atlantic seaboard, and they were about to move into Gaul. This is what we're leading up to. So the word came from the General Stilco, whose military prowess was what the empire in Western Europe relied upon, and with the added comfort that the legions in Britain would respect the normal unified imperial code of unity with Rome and Italy. Foes, however, could be tempted to take liberties to test the imperial will and alertness, and powerful barbarian nations could choose their own timing of any actions. They were able to create a political climate where it was far more than difficult to see the wood from the trees. At this time, an Irish king intervened, and his actions are recorded, albeit somewhat obscured by the ravages of time and history. The High King Niall of Ireland was vigorously active at the time, and he may have been instrumental in opening the opportunity for the rebellion of Magnus Maximus in Britain in AD 383. Crucial date, 383. It is possible that he aided or sponsored some of the expeditions which at the time distracted the British state. So this idea then that the armies in Britain moved on into Europe. Rome was stuffed, they were having their own problems. Anyway, I don't get too much into that. Sidetrack a minute. Anyway, one compelling legend is that King Niall, in collaboration with the other regional kings and noblemen of Ireland, demonstrated the prowess of his countrymen when he invaded Gaul France and conquered the border of Switzerland. This actually coincides with the era of Magnus Clemens Maximus in Britain, when there was serious conflict in Gaul during the brief period when Magnus claimed the Western Empire. It is not impossible that the Irish sent forces to aid Magnus Maximus during his brief period as Western Emperor in AD 383 to 388. King Niall's death around AD 406 was a crisis in Irish history, as his son was opposed by Calpurnius, which did indeed have a dramatic influence on his future destiny and actions. A fleet of explorers, most likely Irish, raided Old Wales seeking plunder and taking captives as slaves. St. Patrick was a youth at the coastal college at Llaneltid Fawr, now Llantwit Major, and he fled inland to his home at Bonaventum, which is now called Cowbridge, to try to escape from the Irish. Now here we've got one of the great stories of Patrick in Wales. He hid up in a tree, probably now at Tair Onen, which means the 3 ash trees. But he was spotted by the Irish and forced to descend. So Patrick was taken away from Glamorgan to become a slave in Ireland. It is recorded that they spared his life when he spoke in the old Irish Gaelic tongue, a gift from his mother. Excuse me. And, in Baram's own words, so we talked about this, St. Patrick finally became totally Irish, as those who had captured him. It is said that Patrick regarded Ireland as going out to the ultimate place on earth. This may be a statement of praise, but he may also have considered that there is nothing but the Atlantic Ocean out to the west of Ireland. Tradition has it that the pirate ships returned to the shores of Connaught, where Patrick became a slave tending flocks of sheep, serving as new master in the ultimate western land. Tradition holds the Wood of Hochland is where he was kept in the northwest of Connaught. This country belonged to Amolnaid, the king of Connaught, and to this day it is known as Treorly, or the land of Omel-Guide. Now I'll do some more on this. There's some great stuff. We don't do a lot of Irish history, but it should be Britain and Irish hidden history. But how much can you get in one title, okay? It's already about 15 letters, I think. So, just a little bit. Keep these short now, as you know, these weekday ones. 15 minutes is my limit. Try and get some to about 10. What are we on? 7.5. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to bring up on... Hopefully you can now see this. Good old Wikipedia. I haven't done great research on this one. I just want to give... The book tells us more about the historical details and the story, and I've given some of it there. He was a very powerful king in Ireland. The first part of this book is very new as far as I've seen about stories of St. Patrick, because it talks about the political situation in Ireland, Britain and Rome, and how Patrick aligned them more with Rome than Britain, where you had a different type of Christianity. So this is the roots of Ireland being a Catholic country and never quite in alignment with Britain on matters Christian, okay? So I don't know how you say this. I'm sorry if someone could help me. There's some great spellings in Irish and I always have trouble with them. So Niall, I'm going to go for Nigailach. Nope, doesn't really help. The old Irish pronunciation, anyway, something like that. Niall of the Nine Hostages. He's an Irish king and the ancestor of the O'Neill dynasties that dominated the northern half of Ireland from the 6th to 10th centuries. And if you look through this, there's some bizarre ideas about him. They're trying to show that maybe he didn't exist at all. He is presumed by some to have been a real person, at the very least semi-historical, but most of the information about him that has come down to us is regarded as legendary. Well, once again, I imagine it's like a lot of British history. What's legend and what's history? Because when you look at the historicity, great word, historicity and dates, I had to use the words exactly as they seem on the screen. Hang on, let's just make this easy so you can see what I'm looking at. Niall is presumed on the basis of the importance of his sons and grandsons to have been a historical person. So we got the sons, we got the grandsons, but hey, they come out from nowhere. But the early Irish annals say little about him, which is the annals of Innisfallen date from his death before 382, and the Chronicon Scotorum to 411. The later annals of the Four Masters dates his reign to 379 to 405, And good old Geoffrey Keating's Forest Facer place him in 368 to 395. So they all mention him, they all refer to him. Just a little bit of quibbling about the dates. And if you look further on this, then he was, him and his sons, responsible for the breakup of the ancient kingdom of Ulster and these other sub-kingdoms which came on. Now, what I would like to say is that I like to do a longer thing, really, about the politics of this period, where how Patrick let's put it another way, why the kings of Ireland saw advantage in adopting the Roman religion. All right, so that'll be enough for today. I'm going to do some more on this. It's a fascinating book, and as it says, I think down there, it's available. It's available from cumberglyphics.com. Just log on there, put your orders in, and we'll get them sent out. And you can follow along as I read some more bits as well. So hope you enjoyed that. And I don't know which buttons I'm pressing anymore. And until the next time, which will hopefully be tomorrow, Heddwch.